It was Pema Chödrön who said, and I found this quote the other day and used it in a previous Substack. She said, "Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in us." So I thought I'd spend a few minutes just talking about how, in many ways, at the lowest points of our experience, at the rock bottom, something may shift. And I say this as a way of reorienting the mind that fears so much rock bottom, that fears so much the low point, because to the self, the low point is the worst possible place, the worst, the worst possible experience, because it's sort of, we've almost got a fear, quite rightly on a certain level, of annihilation. And so we keep ourselves, so many are kind of trying to keep their head above water, like this, as if that sort of desperate way is going to save us, to keep us from drowning, to keep us from falling to the low point. So we resist it at all costs. But life has a way of taking us to the places that we need to go to. Life's intelligent like that. I mean, we may not like it, and I know some people won't see it like that, but in my experience, I've seen that life has taken me to the places I needed to go, and they have been many dark places, many very, very deep places, and it's actually been, in some ways, not exclusively, but a lot, of when I've kind of given up almost, reached rock bottom. And what is rock bottom? It sort of means something different to each person. But to me, it's like I can't do this anymore. I can't do this in the way that I've been trying to do this anymore. Something else needs to happen. And this can actually happen on many different levels. I've known a lot of alcoholics, drug people who have reached the same point in some way and found themselves with an intervention and, started on the road to recovery via, AA or some other path. But it has generally been at a low point where the self, that's trying to gallantly or bravely or, rigidly or whatever it is, hold on for dear life, it reaches a critical point where there's a realization that we can't do this. by ourselves on our own. That's an invitation in some ways to see it with a certain eye. You see it as an invitation to grace. In many ways it's an invitation to God. Not the God of the, salvation in that way, not some external God of belief, but the divine, let's call it, a divine unconditionality that holds us, but we don't feel it. But in some ways, to reach rock bottom allows the possibility of that holding to be felt, to be known. This is part of what Pema Chödrön is talking of. Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in us. So, when Eckhart Tolle, as far as I understand, reached a certain point before he even wrote the book Power of Now, he reached a point where he realized that he couldn't, what does he say? He couldn't bear himself anymore, or he couldn't, something, about the self that was holding on, that was defining life, that had the tight grip over life. To be seen. I can't do this anymore. It can spell a sort of, the breakdown, but that breakdown does become the breakthrough, potentially. It's the door of grace that opens, and it opens into a deeper seeing that we can give up fighting and give up holding on and give up resisting and give up the clenched fist and fall into something that's more mysterious, more unconditional, more open, more benevolent, more loving. Awareness itself, grace itself, the divine itself. And this somehow almost reconnects us with our essence. And it's a great relief. A great relief. Rock bottom. And it's funny that we're so scared of potentially the very thing that could bring us the transformation that we so long for. Because the letting go point is the knife edge. The letting go point is where we keep pulling back from. And so this video, what I'm saying is, if that happens, and on the spiritual path, the holistic path, the healing path, all of these things, which in many ways ultimately come to the same thing, to feel that edge and to have courage on that edge of getting closer to seeing the self that holds on, that seeks to hold on, that wants desperately to hold on. And to allow it, allow yourself to be there in rock bottom. To accept that you can't do it. I'm not going to say it's difficult. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say do this, do that, because this is at this point that we run out of hows. We run out of the how, because it becomes experiential and it becomes existential and it becomes individual. So it's not a map. The map has got you to that point. The map gets us there, but then there's no map. then we're on our own. We're on our own. And this is a good thing. This is not a bad thing, because the on our ownness forges something in us, because it opens the door to a deep intimacy that we have, where life comes home to us. Because most of us are living almost second-hand lives. And this brings it into, one's existence into full weight, the full weight of it, the full measure of one's existence. It's very powerful, and it shouldn't be diminished or reduced. This rock bottom. There are so many different elements to it. And it doesn't have to be forever. We don't know what it is. I've hit rock bottom so many times. It sort of doesn't matter to me. So it stops being rock bottom, because rock bottom is to do with the self. Rock bottom is to do with who we think we are. I'm this kind of person, I've got this kind of history, and I'm living this kind of life, and I avoid these kind of things, and I like this sort of thing, and I'm trying desperately to hold on to my whatever it is, my idea that I have of myself, because I'm terrified of who I'll be, of what this existence will be or mean to me, or how it will dissolve, or how crushing it will be if I abandon all ideas that I think I know what my life is supposed to be. But as we go through life, I think you'll find that the idea that you might have had in your 20s or 30s is nowhere near the idea that you have in your 40s and 50s, let alone when you get to your 60s. I had no idea that I was, that this was going to be anywhere near my experience. And that the depth of my life and knowing and humility and presence would come through all of that journey that seemed to take me to the edge and take me to the broken places and take me to rock bottom, as well as all the epiphanies and releases and healings and, myriad experiences. And all the stuff before that have all brought me to a richness that I value more than anything. It's only the richness that I really love, the communication with other people from a deep place of humility, and the richness of the depth of feeling that I have for love and for life, for all life, and how that has brought me to such a great humility. And I would never have known that, because I was either running away from myself, wanting to be something that never happened, or trying to hide in life through drugs, drinking, and, relationship. And all of those things, by and by, came undone and went on the long journey. It took me to rock bottom many times, and brought us to America on an adventure that I had no idea what was in store for us or me. And now there's a richness and a depth and a no longer caring about being anybody or upholding some idea of myself, of seeking to live in the presence of this moment and this moment and this moment, and to be honest and have integrity with this moment and this moment. That doesn't come without really going back to rock bottom and exposing myself over and over to annihilation. And then in that annihilation, I realized that which is indestructible. That which is indestructible and that which is unconditional. In some ways, that's what I've talked about before, the return to innocence. So, we have ideas about rock bottom, but don't let those ideas just, cover the whole of one's experience, the whole of your experience. Take heart. Get a little bit closer. Soften down a little bit more. It could be that in rock bottom, the door opens, the door of grace, the door of light, the door of healing opens and shines a little bit brighter. Bless you.